Well, joining me now from Islamabad is Azeema Cheema. She is the Director of Research and Strategy at Verso Consulting. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Pakistan's rather draconian blasphemy laws are a highly volatile subject in Pakistan, and this case in particular is a very controversial one. But do you think the Supreme Court did what it needed to do in not bowing to pressure from extreme religious conservatives?
Well, there's a broader context to this. This case was the trigger for bringing the issue of blasphemy to the center of the national discourse in Pakistan. Public opinion is strongly behind the blasphemy laws, as we've seen time and again. We have had a political party emerge that didn't exist 8 months before the election, that were able to campaign at the national level. Local level politics and political economy is a different thing. However, at the national level, this group campaigned on a single point agenda, which was to uphold the blasphemy laws and to act in defense of the Prophet. And they managed to find candidates, and they managed to procure over 2 million in the popular vote. Over time, since 2009, this conflict has grown, and as you've mentioned as well, it has triggered a number of assassinations. It has also triggered community-level violence. And there is a lot of confusion as to how the state will reconcile the demands of extremist groups with rule of law in the country. Now, the Supreme Court and the judiciary over here have shown their hand, and they've given quite a considered judgment in which the justices have questioned the basis of the allegation. However, there is a demand for guilt to be pronounced on the accusation, not the substantiation of guilt, as it were. And public opinion has shown that, I mean, there is a demand to hear more from the state as well. Okay. The political government so far is silent. And this resolution of how this conflict will play out in Pakistan, how the security situation in Islamabad will turn over the next few weeks, is largely dependent on how the state, both the political establishment and the army, respond to that. Okay. So far, the government is quiet, and they will need the support of the army in order for the state to be on the same page. Right,
but the Prime Minister, in the meantime, is actually under some pressure to resign. What do you think Imran Khan should ultimately do?
I think they shouldn't rush to any kind of a reckless, reactive responses. I think it's really time for all state institutions to come to each other on the same page and decide what it is that they want to do. In the past, that we've had sort of open conflict. The last time that this particular religious group that has called for the protests, the last time that they did protest in Islamabad and they blocked the roads, the political government did not have the support of the army. And if that kind of a conflict, and if that kind of an impasse on the national discourse is to continue, then we will have a muddled scenario where the public won't quite know what to expect and are all the more susceptible to calls for protests and violence. Agitational politics in Pakistan will continue as long as the state does not step in and give a considered response. There should be proper communication from the state on what this message, on what this verdict of the Supreme Court means and how they plan to handle it. I can't honestly answer your question about how the Prime Minister will respond, but we hope that it will be a considered response.
Okay. Azeema Cheema, we will leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us from Islamabad.
Thank you.